I was born in 1970 in the Soviet Ukraine. The USSR was at its prime. Even being a young boy, I soon realized there is a parallel life along with the Soviet path. This is the compilation of parallel music from the last 3 decades of the Soviet era. In short, music is really important to us. This is our core value. When it seems there is no chance for the future, music comes in handy.
The music was a source of, was a means of communication. It connected a lot of people who had creative ideas, and they didn't have any vehicle or conduit in the official ways.
The recording system in Soviet times was arranged so that only state-authorized performers who had gone through the hellish rounds of the permit system could record at the few monopolistic state-run studios. However, some of the artists managed to build a whole aesthetic platform which was essentially anti-Soviet. The first defining explosion began at the late 60s. A few years ago, while working on the eponymous documentary, I christened it Mustache Funk.
One boy from my yard lent me a very usual guitar, but with 6, not 7 strings, and I began to teach me play guitar without any teachers. So I learned 12 accords. That is very good foundation for create your own music.
Under the influence of a certain ease of the regime and with the help of so-called enemy voices of the Western radio stations broadcasting Western music, the first post-war generation of youth began to actively seek the new rhythms and sounds.
Voice of America, BBC, and others special radio stations. I listened when I was a young boy, and I very liked this kind of music.
We were not completely isolated. We had some people traveling abroad and bringing the recordings with them. So those contacts were limited but still existing.
Numerous powerful commissions and committees meticulously regulated the repertoire, and only compositions written by official authors were allowed to be performed.
That was a period of Soviet Union. We have mind of underground. We was living in another world, like partisan, musical partisan, but we like it.
But folk songs were also allowed, opening up huge opportunities for many ensembles. The local rhythms were still quite funky by their own origins. This scene combined Central Eastern Ukrainian vocal polyphony, Carpathian rhythms, and in fact, overseas groups. The result sounded unique, funky, and sometimes even a bit psychedelic.
It's interesting to combine many styles. One side is American dance music, and another half is Ukrainian world of music.
Seeking complete control, the communist authorities planned to turn a fresh culture trend into a fake, pseudo-folk, aboriginal, so-called Sharwar culture.
We have some Soviet trend to unification. Everything should be pretty similar, but with some local costumes. But we also had people who were interested in local tradition, in revivalism or reconstruction, and also interested in different foreign influences. And we tried to do something with this strange information coming from outside. I think it was pretty eclectic.
The 70s became the golden age of the Ukrainian music scene, with a cohort of hitmakers, real stars, and legions of fans. Some top ensembles went on long concert tours, mirroring the big American rock bands. For example, Kobza Band toured the entire USSR, playing about 300 concerts a year and even performing overseas in Canada.
We tried to create music in Ukrainian or from Ukrainian roots, but for modern people on whole world.
The Ukrainian scene was also perfectly synchronized with events in the most diverse corners of the planet. Brazilian funk karaoke, German krautrock, Turkish psychedelic, African disco. By the end of the 70s, the Soviet cultural authorities have finally understood that funkified beats quite strongly contradict the principles of the system by and large. The once prolific scene was almost completely colonized, appropriated and largely Russified. The next outbreak occurred mainly in Kiev in the mid-80s. This time it was already a true musical underground. Its formation and development probably coincided with total historical perturbations.
Before, Chernobyl and stuff, nobody believed that it would over. I guess there was expectation that this would be forever. And then when the rock scene exploded, it may be connected to the social change, but it was also allowance to be themselves for musicians, not thinking about social things at first place, because a lot of experimental musicians, they didn't care about social issues.
Kiev was buzzing like a beehive. Hundreds of local punks, goths, hippies, metalheads, gurus of yet unknown beliefs spent time in the coffee shops and cafes around the city's downtown. It was in fact a kind of inner city that was already living a completely new life, devoid of Soviet attributes. Therefore, the unexpected Sonic Youth gig in Kiev in 1989 doesn't look so surprising anymore.
People were interested in any unusual stuff. When someone came with strange music we didn't have in Kiev, but some musicians accepted and how it could be done. Maybe we should do something like this.
There was no common genre platform. It was a period of very active socialization and exchange of musical information and ideas. Information channels from the Western world expanded significantly, and local musicians evolved with supersonic speed in just a few years, absorbing decades of world's musical background. They transformed this knowledge into their sound.
I guess it's the genius loci. The musicians themselves just catch the vibe. You know, they didn't copy Western music that they heard, but they transmutated it to make it more their music. They didn't try to be anyone but themselves. They accepted this foreign culture that speak to them, and they found the means.
The originator epicenter migrated to the energized environments under the roofs of the first art squads. Accordingly, the creative process was carried out at the intersection of visual performances, happenings, jams, and the first acid house marathons. The advent of portable studios and electronic instruments also facilitated recording at home in classic DIY fashion.
My recording stuff was pretty eclectic. So I use Technics hi-fi tape deck for recording. That was my main recording device. The other was Ukrainian tape reel machine Electronica. My mixing console was also made in Ukraine. The music of 90s, early 90s is different because we didn't have state censorship anymore. We were able to do what we like and nothing bad would happen to us.
It's something that you cannot undo, you know. You have the call. It's the impulse, it's the sickness, I guess, the musician's sickness, the calling.
The range of experiments of this new generation extended from early electronica to ambient, 8-bit sketches, neo-baroque, synth-pop, noise, industrial, modern classical, indie rock, hip-hop, and so on. We borrow from the world, pass it through, absorb it, and eventually create something of our own.
To be something from here, something very unique and original, because nobody in the world needs another copycat music from elsewhere.
We mentioned only 2 musical explosions within those 30 years. There have been a few others: jazz revival, library music, electroacoustic experiments, to name a few. It should be noted that most of this audio heritage was known only to a limited number of modern Ukrainians. Until recently, this was sonic terra incognita, save for the few enthusiasts and diggers who tread there. This assemblage of sounds provides a view of Ukrainian music in a specific period of our history, which we are finally, extremely painfully, turning over right now. Hopefully our sound archives are becoming part of the world.